Welcome to my Blender Python random level generator tutorial using Blender 2.72. All files for this tutorial are located at www.tackyfine.com under the game menu. You can download the files for this by going to my website and clicking on Game, scrolling down and going to the main file link here. And there you can download the script files and a Blender file, and then you'll need to set up the texture files so they can be accessed from your computer, and I have the directions on how to run it. Okay, in this tutorial I'm going to be going over the utility module Geo. I call it Geo basically because it's keeping track of locations, things of that nature. First class in here is a point, and then I have an enum for directions, whereas east is 0, and east would be toward the left of the screen, west is toward the right, north is upward, and south is downward. I have print direction, which basically just prints out the direction based on whatever number is passed into it. I have change direction, which randomly chooses a number. Make sure that it's not repeating what was fed into it. Just make sure you're not continuing on in whatever direction you were going. Move, which actually moves the point in whatever direction you need to move. Unmove, which undoes what move does. And then I have the functions that get an element out of the array with error checking. That's very helpful if you're playing around with a code and you want to see what's causing the problem. Then I have the set an element in the array using the x and y coordinates as this one does, and get and set elements using point, so you can pass in a point, and all of these have error checking. And that's it for the Geo module. Okay, now we're going to go over the dgnLevel module. It uses random, dungeon rooms, Geo, and I'm not sure. I don't think it uses that actually. Let's see. Okay, so the class name is Matrix here. It's actually an array. I'm not sure why I use that. I suppose it was because I think I used array somewhere else. But anyway, I have the regular designators here. Probably could have made them global, but I don't usually use globals. Not very often anyway. This will be the width and the height of the array that keeps track of the level and what's in the level. And this is where the main array that controls the level layout is built, right here. And note that it's filled full of designators for solid rock. And then we have tunnel size limit, and a bounds checker. The bounds checker just makes sure that we're not placing a point outside of the array. And here we're going to create our passageway in the array and leave a marker for each room that's created. We may also leave markers in various places for the rooms. Tunnel size is initialized as 0. Tunnel size limit will be the width and the height of the level times 0.36, and that's really 0.36 is just an experimental amount that I used to get good results. I probably should have named it something, maybe named it fudge factor or something like that. That's what it is. Room frequency controls how many rooms are created on the level. This is creating a point from Geo and setting the direction to 0. I have room size set to 11. We're using 11. The room size limit is actually 10, but we're leaving a little more as a precaution. And then we're creating a X and Y coordinate within the point that we created up here. And we're limiting it between the coordinate 1 and the width of the whole level minus room size. We don't want to get any rooms to fall outside of that range. And let's see, we're setting the element here using the point to a passageway once we've got that point. And now we go into the place where we tunnel through the array randomly and make sure that our moves are within bounds of the array. If the tunnel size here exceeds the tunnel size limit, then we drop out of the while statement. We get a random distance somewhere between 6 and 40, and that distance will be the distance that we travel in a particular direction. As long as the distance is greater than 0, we'll continue to travel in that direction. We decrement distance, and at this point we move in whatever direction is set using the geoMove function. That changes the point, and then once we've changed the point location, we check it with the matrix bounds checker to make sure that it's not anywhere that would get us in trouble. If we're okay on that, it increments tunnel size because we're ready to move. And then we check our tunnel size against the room frequency using the modulus function. If room frequency divides into tunnel size evenly, we'll get a modulus of 0, and that means that it's about time to put a room marker in. Then we'll go to this function, and that's one of the handy things about Notepad. If you double click on a function, it'll highlight it anywhere else it shows up. So right here is where we're using this function. We're passing in that new point, and we're checking it to make sure that the point doesn't fall any place where it's close to the boundary for the width or close to the boundary for the height. The room is going to be up to 10 spaces wide, so if we subtract 11 from the room width, then we know that we're not close to the right side of the level, too close to the point where we can't place a room in. Then we set the element to be a room marker if it does have space for a room. If it doesn't have space for a room, then we just set it to a passageway marker, which is a 1, and then we return the information. Now if we do this check and the bounds checker says nope, then we go here. That means we've reached the side of the level or the bottom or top of level. So what we do is we unmove. We just move backwards. We undo the move so we're back where we were, and we change direction and break out and go back up here and continue until we have tunneled enough. And once we've tunneled enough, well, actually one of the other things I want to mention is as we go through this while loop, if we are successful here, it'll go through all this and then it'll change the direction, and then we'll start again. Okay, and these three functions aren't used within the array itself. This function here is used to draw out the array so that you can see it in the console, what it looks like. You'll notice that I do some replacing in here. That's really just because of the way that the proportions are drawn out, so I double up some of the markers within the array. And that is it for this tutorial.